Hey everyone, Ekman here with another video, and this past weekend we had two new demo decks for the Gundam card game debut at an event in Irvine, which was just down the road from me, so I was able to luckily go out and see the event, and it was a really good time. There's a lot of Gundam fans there. I know a lot of people are really excited for this card game, and these new demo decks have some really cool cards that I really want to go over as well. So in this video, we're going to go over the new cards, specifically red, which we haven't really seen any cards for this color before. We're also going to go over two example decks, which kind of takes these new cards in mind, and then have an example game at the end as well. So if you guys are new to the channel, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. We make a lot of Gundam content, and we're going to keep doing it as we get closer and closer to the release this summer. And then also, if you guys want to see any of these cards or use the deck builder, you can find it linked in the description, and you can check out the Gundam section and then go to structure decks. We have a proxy page, which this is all of the proxies within the beta, but then we also have this blue and white demo deck and red and green demo deck that were from these events. So if you want to see the cards that are in them or print proxies from them, you guys are able to do so as well. Just go to the little gear and press the proxies, and that will generate a PDF that you guys can print there as well. But jumping into this, the big new thing again is the red color, which we've seen blue, white, and green from the beta decks that we got, and people are starting to get from Premium Bandai now that's the end of February, early March timeframe. And I think that the red color is something really interesting to see now that we kind of know what the game kind of looks like. And specifically the kind of identification color remarks are like things that red gets to do is it seems like it's a little bit more like direct damage based. It also has like some breach, so a little bit of overlap with green with it. And also maybe it's just the cards that we saw from this one, but a lot more of like action timing cards, which aren't really existent right now in the like the beta format that we're in too. So we're going to quickly go over all the cards, and we'll just check them out. So first we got Zaku 2, which is just vanilla, right? It's a level 2 one cost 2/2. We've seen this in other colors, nothing too crazy, but I do think it's helpful for some early game stuff. No link either, and this is the only card from the new demo decks that is from the main set. You can tell where these cards are from if you look at the number in the top right here. So this is from set 1, card number 35, and all the cards that are from these demo decks are not cards exclusive to these kind of event promos. These are all cards that are going to be mostly from the new starter decks, but you can tell that these are cards that will exist with the full release too. So I do want to make sure that is mentioned as well. So nothing exclusive from getting the demo decks except for probably just this watermark that says this is a sample, not for sale, can't be used in official tournaments. So there we go. Next up we got Golf, and so this one's actually pretty fun. I do like what this can do. So you just deploy, and when you deploy it, you get to play a rested Zaku 2 token with 1 AP and 1 HP rested. So that's pretty handy. Obviously, I think green is mostly around like being aggressive and making a lot of bodies. So being able to use this card and make another token can be very strong. I do like that. It also links with Rambaral, which we'll talk about that card in a little bit. But the only thing I don't like is that it's a level 3 cost 3. So if you are playing second, you don't really want to play this on curve since you're not able, you know, you'd have to use your EX resource to play this on your third turn, which feels like a little bit worse for it. So this I feel like is a little bit better going first in comparison to going second. But you know, a unit that plays another unit is I think very strong. So we've been seeing Charge Zaku 2 as well be very strong, because if you have a pilot linked with it or just paired with it rather, you get a token that's a 3/1. This one being able to make a 1/1 I think is helpful, and your opponent kind of has to respect it, because if they don't have a base, that it's pushing for 1 damage if they leave it you know, just leave it there. So I think that's important. Next up, you got Mobius 0, and this is the only new white card that we got from this, and we didn't get any new blue cards, though. I don't think like we really need to see more blue cards already. That color I think is very strong in my own mind, but this Mobius 0 is actually pretty strong despite it being a vanilla. It's a level 3 cost 2 unit that has 2 AP and 4 HP, and also links with Mu Laflaga, which we have seen that card already for this game. So I think the biggest thing for this is that the 2 AP and 4 HP is a pretty good stat line, especially since white has some really good pilots that give 2 HP. So turning this into a 3/6 means you get some really good ways to keep this healthy and get some favorable trades in your way. Even without putting a pilot on it, though, a 2/4 can usually trade with 2 units pretty easily, just because of the HP being at 4 is really nice for where it's at. So I think this is a really good value card. I think because of this, you want to play Mu Laflaga a little bit more, which we've been seeing it kind of teched in a little bit. But being able to have this card here be a really good like middle turn where this can pressure, some double trades is really nice, and I think it's a really cool card. Despite it just being a vanilla, it's pretty cool. So there it is. Next up, we got Gira Zulu, which we technically saw this on like a promotional piece for the game. This is just kind of like the more official and English translation for it, which again, it's just a vanilla. It links with the Neo Xeon trait, which we only have one pilot for that right now, which we'll talk about. But I'm sure this card will get better as time goes on as we get more Neo Xeon trait pilots. But it's just a vanilla for now, nothing too special. Next up, we've got the Aegis Gundam's MA mode. So this is from Starter Deck 4, and it is a breach unit, which is really nice. It's a level 4 cost of 3 AP and 4 HP, and it does also link with Atherin Zala as well, which we'll talk about him in a minute. But this is a pretty nice card. I know that Breach has been pretty strong, and it also means that you get some really good synergies with Green, just because Green has like this Breach archetype already baked in with the cards we've seen from the beta box, and it's pretty clear that Red and Green were meant to have some early synergies with all of them having like the Xeon or like Neo Xeon trait, so I think that's helpful for it. And so not only do we have this, but then we also have the Atherin here, which is kind of like a mini pair of like the Hero and the Wing Gundam. We have this Atherin, which gives us +1 AP and +2 HP, so being able to be a 4/6 means you're pretty good at trading twice. You're a breach unit, which is really good, but also this when paired, if this is a link unit during this turn, it may choose an active energy enemy unit that costs that is level 5 or lower and attack into it. So the fact that you're able to attack active cards is great, especially since you're a breach. It just kind of means you get this double value of being able to clear a card but also deal the damage. And then your opponent just kind of has to answer this immediately, or you can do the same thing on the next turn too. So I think this is a really good pairing for this like little like demo plus format. It thinks that this is like not a Xeon or Neo Xeon trait. I understand why it's not because of the lore, but it's a little bit tricky because this only links with only this card, and it's a when paired link ability. But I can definitely tell, like when we get farther into the set, when we get more cards that this works with, this can be very strong for doing some really favorable trades and giving your opponent like some weird opportunities to try to clear this without giving you too much value. So I think it's a cool card, and I've always been interested in the HP +2 cards, because I think that can be really strong in some different links and pairs as well. So there's Atherin. Next up, we've got Indignation, which I actually think this card is really good in its own way. So first of all, this is the Neo Xeon pilot that I was talking about, so we can link it with that other card we saw earlier. But this also is a main in action, which I did say earlier too that I think that there's a lot of great action cards that are coming out with this first set, and this is something like action step is generally ignored right now in the beta format, since there's not a lot of cards that take advantage of that window. But this is a really strong one, which can at least in the context of what we're seeing right now. So main interaction, choose one friendly unit. It gains +2 AP during this turn. So your opponent could be attacking into something where they think they could get like a favorable trade and still be able to live, and then you can use this Indignation to just make the trade back in your favor, right? You probably have to still use 2 cards to get rid of their 1 card, but the amount of tempo you get is really good. It only costs 1, which is really easy to pass the turn with 1 open. And in worst case, like you can just like put this as a pilot to get the additional +1 AP if you really need to kind of get into like an attack range, like being able to remove something or being able to like get rid of a base, right? If you have like a 4 AP card, you can put this underneath it. So pretty flexible card. I think this is strong, and it's going to catch a lot of people off guard. And it kind of means to me that we're going to enter this first set in a couple months, and this action step timing is going to be really important for playing around certain cards and not falling for traps where these action abilities can be really impactful. So there's that card. And kind of talking about really important action step cards, we have Close Combat. So this is an activate main or action. Choose 1 enemy unit. You just deal 2 damage to it, which it's simple, but man, is this card potentially effective, right? Again, this could be a situation where like, oh, well, I can attack this into this, and it will be a favorable trade where, it's going to leave me at 1 HP, and your opponent will have to deal with it anyways. We can use this Close Combat, and we can get rid of it immediately, right? Unlike like some of the damage dealing cards we have already, like for blue, where it has to be like rested or there's like some other condition, this you just immediately get it, and the burst effect is crazy good. Being able to, we don't have a lot of strong burst effects in this game right now, and most of them are just pilots being added to your hand. But now this is a card where my opponent's like, man, if I don't play around this, I could lose a unit before I can attack with it. and that can, really add up or be impactful for the game too. So it's really cool to see this kind of card really early into this game where we can kind of do direct damage to units, and it's curious to see how good this card is already. Like, it's a common from Star Deck 3, right? This card could just be like the worst version of damage dealing in this game, but to see it in the first place, I'm really excited about, and we'll see how it is. And again, it being action timing as well as main timing is really strong to being able to kind of catch your opponent off guard. And if I'm playing against someone who I know is playing red, I have to be careful about if they have that 2 AP open or 2 resource open. I have to be really careful on what they can do with it or interact with my board, which I think is really cool. So there it is. And then next up, we've got the Blue Giant, our Rambo Rawl as well, since this is another dual like command pilot card. Action, choose one friendly unit. It can't receive battle damage from enemy units with 2 or less AP during this battle. So this can also just be kind of nuts in its own way, where your opponent thinks that they're going to trade into something comfortably, and then you play this for 1, and then you get to keep your unit, and they lose their unit in some weird ways. So this can kind of just be like 1 cost removal. Obviously, it's a little bit more battle contingent, and it's a little bit more specific, but I think this card's actually really, really good in the right hands. It means that your opponent has to respect what can happen with this and like the interactions with it. And then also it still can turn into a pilot and link with the card we saw earlier. So turning it into a 3/4, which is good in its own ways. And this card looks like it can be really, really tricky to kind of play around, which is strong. So I like this, and it's really helpful for what we've got. And then lastly, we've got a base here, and I think this is the last card. Yeah, this is the last card we're going to talk about specifically. We got the, I'm going to say this wrong, Rilula here. It is a base for red. It's just add 1 shields from your hand, then choose 1 enemy unit with 5 or less AP, and you get to deal 1 damage to it. Like, again, this is really, really strong, being able to deal damage to stuff when you play these bases. There's also kind of like these weird scenarios where I'm playing like a really aggressive deck and I have all these shields, right? These are all cards that I could be using earlier. And because of that, like if I'm the aggressive deck, I don't really have to worry about my opponent hitting me down to 0 because they're usually not touching my shields at all. They're trying to interact with my board. So using this card to not only deal damage, but also to be able to draw a card, I think is really, really strong for what we have. So it's going to be interesting if this is like a 2 of or a 4 of in certain builds. But if you guys were playing a card in this game that just instead say, deal 1 damage and draw 1 card, that would be crazy strong. So it on a base and essentially saying the same thing, right? Like if you want to think of it that way, that can be really helpful to be able to not only remove a card from our opponent, but be able to potentially draw the card we're missing and draw into some additional value. So again, this is a pretty simple card, right? It's statted, and the text is pretty easy to decipher, but I think this could be something that's very powerful to shift the dynamic for what red's doing in this card game as well. So those are all the new cards, and we'll quickly look at some deck lists built from these as well. So obviously the red and green one's going to be a little bit more of the new cards, but the addition of Mobius Zero, I think, means that we can be a little bit better and greedier with some of our like Strike Gundam stuff. So the biggest card for it is the Hawk of Endymion, or also Mula Flaga. So this has a main or action, so choose 1 enemy unit with 3 or less HP and return it to its owner's hand. So this can actually be really strong for preventing an attack damage. It only costs 1, but also the fact that this is an Earth Alliance card and named Mula Flaga, so that means it does link with the Mobius Zero that we talked about earlier. So it turns this into a 3/4, which is great stats for the cost for it. But also some of these Strike Gundams also kind of go under that. So we have the Launcher Strike Gundam, so we can turn this into a 4/4 that can attack immediately, which is really good. But also the Perfect Strike Gundam, it just needs an Earth Alliance trait. So turning this into a 5/4 that can attack directly and also bounce a 1 HP back to hand, I think that's something really strong. So this is more of a Strike Gundam build. And I also say, like, it's been pretty clear that blue and white's been one of the stronger combinations in this beta already. So this is probably going to be a more immediately kind of viable deck based on these builds, since it was just adding like Mobius Zero and more copies of Hawk of Endymion. But I think this is a deck that can be very, very strong in this format that we have. And then lastly, we do have the red and green deck. And this has been untested wholly, right? This is just a newer deck, and there's a chance that this is just complete trash. So don't think that this is the only way and best way to play this, especially since red only has a couple cards that we've seen revealed already. But I did want to make a deck, and this was obviously the most straightforward one, making a more Xeon-focused version of these cards. So the kind of new cards and kind of cards to focus on is that that we do have the Gelgoog, so being able to use this it's a 4/3, and then anything with the Xeon trait can link with it. So that means that we have like Char that we've seen previously, but it also means that the Blue Giant can also link with it, which is really nice. So we can turn that into a 5/4. Very good for us there. And just being able to have these additional kind of pilots that let us link with it, but also have these additional action abilities, I think I offer a lot of flexibility for it as well. So generally speaking, then we just kind of play a lot more of like the bodies and ways to build the board. We're playing Zaku 2 because that does generate some more bodies. We're playing our Zaku 2s as well from the star decks and from the main set, just because these can offer some good pressure. And then also the top end is really like non-existent, right? If you want to play like Wing Gundam at a couple copies just because that does pressure board a lot of the time, go for it. I think that the new ways we can interact with the board with cards like Close Combat, as well as Rilula, and also just even Aegis Gundam being able to trade favorably with Breach can help this deck as well. But this is, again, clearly just a basic build with this. I wouldn't say this is the best way to build this, but a good way to just kind of start looking at like what the red and green stuff looks like together as well. So that's kind of all the new cards and deck list we want to talk about, and let's go to our example game.
All right, we've got me on the left with the red and green kind of Xeon aggro deck, and then on the right we've got Yomi with the blue and white strike control deck as well. And shouts to Yomi for playing this game with me. I really do appreciate it. She's been working pretty hard lately, but she's always finds some time, so I do appreciate her help. And she did win the dice roll as well, so she is going to go second and has the EX resource there. That's the one that we were able to get from Irvine. Super cool, and happy we were able to pick that up as well. So I keep my opening hand, Yomi gets the mulligan, and we're going to start our turn. So putting down 6 shields each, and we'll see how this game goes as well. So quick fist bump, and we start with us going first. No level 1 cards in the deck anyway, so just a quick pass as well. Yomi's going to be level 2 with 1 resource and 1 EX resource. She's going to play out the Demi Trainer and then pass it back to us. We are going to be at level 2. We're going to play out the Zaku 2 for 1 cost there. It's one of the newly revealed cards from the demo decks. Another Demi Trainer 2, so this is definitely looking pretty good for Yomi, since we're an aggro deck. Being able to stop our aggression with these trainers are going to be pretty good too. But we are going to go 2 into the EX base. Yomi has the decision to block or not, but just going to take the damage, going down to 1 health on the base. And we're playing out the Gof, which is again a newly revealed card, being able to play out the 1/1 token as well. So going back to Yomi, she's currently level 4 with 3 resources and 1 EX resource. Going to play out the Gun Tank. Just immediately get rid of that token I play out, and then play the Launcher Strike Gundam with the EX resource as well. So going back down to level 3, but being able to play that to be able to hopefully block some damage in this next turn too. So we're at level 3 ourselves. We're going to go into level 4 ourselves. We're going to try get rid of that EX base, and we do with the 2 damage. We have the Gof, which we're going to just take a 1 damage there. And we're seeing what we're doing from there. So we're 2/2. We're going to play out the Fall Mel. So we are able to play a base over base. We're going down to 5 shields to do so, paying 2 for it, being able to make a 3/1 Zaku token. And then with our other 2 resources, I think I'm just going to pass back. No, actually, I'm going to play out the Rick Dom there. So it's a 3/3 with Breach 2, and is helpful for being able to trade with some of these blockers as well. So I'm going to start off with a Hawk of Endymion, being able to return the Rick Dom back to my hand, and then another one to return the token, which does just get removed from the game. So pretty good play back to the tempo on Yomi's side. And I remember strictly man, this is looking pretty rough. She might be stabilizing quite good here. So we are going to just take the block there and then pass it back. We still have our Zaku 2. 2 HP, right? Still as healthy as when we played it. And I got to try to swing the tempo back to my side. So going attack into shields, going to block with the Demi Trainer, having 1 HP on that Zaku 2 there. And then thinking about what I want to do with the rest of my resources. Going to play out not 1, but 2 more Rick Doms there. So we do have 2 of them. 2 3/3s, and also having the Breach 2 is really nice, especially against these blockers. So going to quickly trade the Gun Tank there to be able to get rid of my Zaku 2. Still has the blocker up. Going to pay 2 resources to play out the white base. So pretty strong there. Being able to, again, just have a base up that we have to respect. And then we've got 3 resources left for Yomi. and going to play out just another Strike Gundam there. So being able to have another blocker, and since we are probably going to try to pressure this anyways, I think this attack is a good call here, getting 3 damage on my fall mail and passing it back to me. So level 6 with these 6 resources here, and I feel like with these Rick Doms I'm going to be able to press a good amount of damage as well. So we'll have to see what we get there with. So we're going to start off with the first one, just attacking into probably the Strike Gundam, just to be able to get rid of that for future and get that good breach trade. So we're going to attack into there and get that, which is nice. All right, and it is a breach 2, not a breach 3. So currently that base has 3 HP, but it doesn't matter. We just attack with the Rick Dom and we get there. We're going to play out Char Zaku 2 and then a second one. So these are quite good as well, and these will potentially be able to link with a Char later to prevent these blockers from blocking, since it will get the high maneuver, but we're going to pass back from there. So Yomi's going to attack into the Rick Dom, 3 into there, and I'm considering if I want to do anything. There are a couple action cards in this red-green deck that we've kind of talked about. We're just going to take it. The Strike Gundam's at 1 HP, so pretty easy to get rid of. And then what are we doing with the rest of them? We're going to play out the Ale Strike Gundam there, so being able to use this to not only be another blocker, but can swing the tempo back. Overflowing Affection, going to pay pay 1 to draw 2 and discard another Ale Strike in hand. And then to end the turn, we are going to play out the additional copy of, I believe, a pilot. Yes, it's going to be Kira here, so being able to use this to link with the Ale Strike and get the when paired effect. I'm going to be a little bit delayed on doing this. We are going to bounce the Zaku 2 back to hand. But Yomi's deciding not to attack into it, since it is kind of like a better proactive card. But yeah, bouncing back the Zaku 2 with that. Then we have the, I'm going to say this wrong, Rilula being able to get the 1 damage on the other Strike Gundam, so that does to get the removal of it, which is quite good. And then what are we doing from here? So we've got the Zaku 2. It's a 3-2, and currently the Ale Strike is a 6-5. So Yomi could potentially block this and have 2 HP. We're just going to take the damage, show the Show of Resolve. Playing out the Zaku 2 once again. Going to play out the Gelgoog there, which is a 4-3 that can also link with this Ramba Rawl, since it is a Xeon trait. So it's going to be a 5-4 heading into the shields here. So Yomi's likely going to block and just trade both copies of these, since it is a bit of a tough card. And also, like, it might be weird to see how Yomi's blocking some of these and what's getting in and what's going out. And this isn't the first time we played this. We played a couple games beforehand. And I think the scariest thing about this red-green deck is the fact that we do have these actions that we can kind of catch our opponents off guard and make them do some unfavorable trades without them, due to the action timing with it. So we do just see a white base come out and then play out the L Strike. Just 1 resource short of being able to do something strong and play another token. But we're going to play Citizens Take a Stand, so all of our cards get a +2 boost. So these are both at 5 AP, which is great when there's a 5 health base on the other side. And looks like we're going to just, attack with the Zaku 2 into the base. So that's going to be 5 at a 5 HP. And just get rid of that immediately. We're going to have that hitting into another base. So we have the Archangel there, which is, again, pretty nasty if that stays around. We're going to play Rilula once again. And most of the reason I did this was because that, I was attacking with these Zakus first to see if we get some trade value. But I didn't have anything else to play. So the Rilula actually found me this Aegis Gundam from my shields, and then I did already have the Atherin. So this is going to be able to attack into the L Strike. It's going to have Breach 3. We're going to take a little bit of damage, but again, just a very favorable trade for us as well. So we've got a pretty wide board. Yomi's down to 1 shield and a base with 2 health. They're going to play out the Gundam MA form and also have the Amuro 2 link with it as well. Nothing to switch to rest, but we will be able to get some potential trades with it. And unfortunately, right, like, we have to kind of trade into this this Aegis here, even though like it doesn't have like a lot of HP right now. We're gonna have the gun cannon come down and then another gun cannon, but unfortunately we don't really have any pilots to sync with it, which could have been I think pretty strong. So we still have these Zaku 2s. We're just going to attack into the shields here. So again, get rid of the base, attack, get rid of the last shield. It was a Mula Flaga, which just gets sent to the trash. And we're going to play out a Zaku 2 and then pass from there. I only have 2 cards in hand. I know that I've been kind of in the aggression seat for most of this game, but I'm really running out of resources to try to end this game. So Yomi's going to try to do some cleanup duties here. So we do have the gun cannon attack into the Zaku 2, and I've got the Rambarral are also the blue giant command, so I just can't receive damage for something with 2 or less AP, so that does protect my one Zaku 2. The other one does trade to the gun cannon, and Yomi did have another blocker unit, but I do just, top deck the Char. Not that it really mattered. I had 2 attacks, and we have that there. So there's the hesitated fist bump, but again, I really do appreciate Yomi playing with me and just kind of showing off these decks in general. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys want more content, make sure to hit that like and subscribe. Check out my website, Eggman Events, for deck list and for cards, and we'll catch you all next time.